everybody. Hi there. I love this part, seeing everybody turn their cameras on. I'd love if you could put in the chat where you're tuning in from. I'm in Sacramento, California, here in the United States. Let's see where other folks are joining us from. New York. Wonderful. Well, we're all writing that in. We're turning our cameras on. I see some folks from Greece, Texas. We are international today and always. I am so excited about our presenter today, about our presentation. So I am going to go ahead and get started. I'd love to welcome all of us joining in on today's APPA Live, Exploring Birth Psychology. Today is Monday, August 21st. And my name is Wendy Bruns. I'm APPA's Outreach and Communications Director. If you're new to APPA Live, it's our weekly webinar series where we bring you experts and pioneers in the field of pre and perinatal psychology to inspire us, to inform us about our awareness of conscious babies. On Monday, this program is free and open to everyone who joined us at noon Eastern. So we love you to invite your friends, your colleagues, and the recordings of all of our APPA Lives are available as a membership benefit to our premier members. We will go ahead and add a link into the chat about our memberships along with my email. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to connect with me directly. I love hearing from all of you. Before we get into the meat and bones of our presentation, I want to just remind you of a few exciting things kind of happening in our APPA world over the next couple of months that we want to join you to be a part of. If you joined us a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Isa Gucciardi was on APPA Live, and she will be hosting an upcoming course in September called Tracking Spirit in the Birth Environment. In that course, Dr. Gucciardi is going to help mothers, partners, and birth professionals stay connected with the unseen yet very powerful resources that are contained within the birth experience. And students in this course learn to connect with deep inner resources and embrace the profound transformative power that's present at birth. I am so excited for this course. Dr. Gucciardi has so many preparatory videos. She has readings for all of us to take advantage of, and she's just created an amazing, amazing course. We're going to go ahead and put that link into the chat as well. And then in October, the 19th through the 22nd, we're inviting everyone to join us for our upcoming 23rd International Congress. We're hosting it in person in Denver, Colorado. We do have virtual opportunities, but we would really encourage all of you to be there in person. We have extended our early bird discount for all of you guys to take advantage of, which is automatically applied when you sign up. And the Congress is just the perfect place for all of us practitioners, anyone in the birth world, anyone who's more curious about birth psychology to support pre and perinatal work. And we're actually celebrating 40 years of APPA as an organization, and we just have such amazing speakers, presentations, and in-person networking opportunities. And that's actually the perfect segue for me to introduce our APPA Live speaker for today, Laura Latina, and she's going to walk us through a presentation on safety and attunement in midwifery continuity care. She will be at our Congress in October, so we're so excited to hear just kind of a little snippet of what she does. Laura has assisted in over 1,000 births in more than 10 countries in her midwifery work, and she's learned so much about birth and just this common theme everywhere in the world of obstetric violence and trauma in birth. She feels that midwifery is such a magical approach to support and guide women through reclaiming their instincts and their intuitions to create a gentle birthing experience and not over-medicalize birth. So in this presentation, she's going to speak about her journey as a midwife into the world, and she believes that it's just essential to know ourselves and the energy that we bring to birth and how to look after our fellow people through such a transformational journey like parenthood. Laura's currently interning at the Compassionate Inquiry, a somatic-based psychotherapy Institute, and she is working as an independent consult around the world to really prevent birth trauma, the medicalization of birth, and really promote what gentle birthing looks like. As always, we will have time for a question and answer at the end of this presentation, so write anything that pops into your head along the way into the chat, and let's welcome Laura to APPA Live, and we are so excited to learn from you today.
Yeah, finally I muted myself. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Well, I'm gonna share my presentation now so I can tell you a little bit about me. And can you see the presentation? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Cool. So my presentation will be about safety and attunement, but also about my own safety and attunement, my journey, mainly as a midwife, as a woman. And in fact, I want to talk about me for a little bit, sharing who I am. Well, you heard from the introduction, I love to say that I'm a woman, identify as a woman with other women, or who identify as women, but also with families. The curiosity that I have for life and really pushed me to travel around the world. When I finished my midwifery study, I'm from Italy. So when I finished my midwifery study in 2008, I really wanted to go beyond what I've learned. And so I found myself traveling for a few years in Africa. And then I kept going, and I'll tell you more about it later. But I traveled for more than 10 countries, working as a midwife, as advisor, as a supervisor, as a manager, and as a community midwife in the UK. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about what childbirth is, thanks to all women that I encounter in my journey so far. I also want to say that what I will talk about comes from, yes, my journey, but also compassionate inquiry. As you heard, I'm interning at compassionate inquiry, which is a psychotherapy approach, a somatic approach developed by Gabor Mate and Satdaram. And I've started my journey more than 2 years ago. And finally, I understood more about, relationship, even with clients. So many things that I was doing with clients, I didn't know what was it, but it was working. And studying about trauma and about how to create safety and attunement really helped me to understand the importance of the relationship that we have with clients. So today I'm going to talk about safety and attunement. And as I said, I'm going to talk a lot about birth and stories and my own journey. But I want to start from talking about what happens when attunement is not there. And I'm going to explain a little bit also what is attunement and what is safety. So there are many studies that said that the researcher found out that lack of attune and support care in birth, in perinatal care, is one of the risk factors for birth trauma and PTSD. And many women reported that for them, lack of attunement was not being seen, not being heard, not being supported, experiencing obstetric violence or violation, out of control in their experience, and no communication with the providers. But when we talk about birth trauma, what is a birth trauma? In the previous studies, they say when there is no attunement in the care, then there might be a possibility for birth trauma. And in my experience, interning, studying with Gabor and with other professionals, I know that trauma in general is not in the event. It's kind of subjective. It's in our nervous system, and it's a wound inside us. So it's a consequence. And it's something that is not the event itself, but is what happens inside us as a consequence of the event itself. So it's not really the intervention, but it's a disconnection from our body. It's a wound, as Gabor always says, a wound. And I love the definition of Alma's that says it's a disconnection from our true essence for who we are authentically. And we have so many studies about the quality of care in perinatal care, the quality in birth, in the childbirth experience. We know that many women experience birth as dehumanizing and experience without they lose their dignity. And many women report that they feel invisible, not cared for, as I said before, not communicated, not considered. And many women experience childbirth as a threat and something that maybe the life of the baby is in danger. And these are really experiences that leave a sign in their lives, maybe forever, maybe a long term. And this is the first experience of life for the baby. And it's not just birth. We think the birth is so the peak of everything. But even if we go before in pregnancy or even before pregnancy, that experience is the first experience of the baby. And many women experience in this way all over the world. And other studies about, this is a study from Australia, from Rachel Reed, and they talk about the care providers, that how they report the relationship with the care provider, and how is this impacting in the care, and what women experience with the care providers. Some women experience that they're lied to, that they're threatened, they are coerced, they feel violated. So we have a lot of traumatic experience, but also part of my journey has been to rediscover what is health. Because I think as a birth workers, our focus should be on health. There is so much health. You know, when I was in Africa, I was so amazed how when we were assisting high-risk pregnancy or women that were sick, they were still giving birth naturally. And for me, it was a sign of health, like this baby, so pink. And I think how we are today in the world, our practice is based on fear and is based on what can go wrong, rather than it's not based on health. What is going right? What if a woman had a beautiful birth? We never think about that. We always think what can go wrong. And my journey, a piece of my journey is but to rediscover really what is health, and to rediscover, what is birth. Because I believe that most of the birth experience, pregnancy, when I would say perinatal journey, is about health. Especially for us midwives, that we focus, we should focus, we are a professional that focus on health rather than pathology or disease. So I want to do a little bit of exercise with you, and I won't look maybe at the chat, but if you want to type the chat, and maybe later when I finish the presentation, I will look into that. Or you can look yourself into, if I ask you, what do you believe about birth? What is the first things that comes into your body, your mind, your gut, everything inside you. What do you believe about birth? Maybe this is not is the wrong audience to do that. But think about
think it's the right audience. I think we're going to have wonderful thoughts.
Yeah. What do you believe about birth? Maybe if I can.
I'm happy to share them with you.
Yeah, maybe if you want to share a few of them, I think it would be nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm seeing, okay, things are going here, moving and grooving. I see the word love in all capitals. I see natural, the most wonderful experience a woman can have, that our bodies know what to do. It's sacred, innate wisdom, opening, and permeability.
Yeah. I was
Sage,
like,
wisdom,
it's not the right audience, because I know that maybe most of you will answer like that, and it's beautiful.
Powerful rite of passage, Lillian says.
Yes, it is.
We'll give everyone just one more second and then we can move on. Powerful transition from Judith. Beautiful. I think that's everyone. If everybody is just
yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's beautiful what you wrote. And I actually Googled, I was looking for some picture, and I Googled physiological birth, and I Googled birth, and this is the picture that I found. And many of the women that I look after, many of the fathers, men, families, people that I look after in this rite of passage believe that birth is dangerous and something bad is gonna happen. One of the visit appointment that I do before around 36 weeks is really to go through, well, during all pregnancy, but between 34 to 36 weeks, we look at planning for birth, what they really preparing for birth. And they have so many questions about what if, which of course is important to answer and to go through that. But we explore a lot about this fear of birth, the fear of that something bad is gonna happen. And last month, I facilitated a workshop for birth workers. There were 30 midwives and obstetricians, and we talk a little bit about the belief that we all have, and so much of that comes from our culture and our society and the medical study. And I remember myself that when I studied midwifery, and when I graduated, and I went to Africa, I was always there waiting for something bad to happen, or I needed to do something because to prevent the bad things that it might happen. I was sure that something might happen, so we needed to do something before. So there is a lot of that when I facilitate workshop for birth workers, birth professional, and also with families, women, people, that this really inner belief that something is going to happen, that we need to be scared of birth. And so I was telling you, I traveled the world, and I been in many countries. Most of them are listed here, and I discovered that I've been to what we call developed country, Italy, UK, Australia, and what we call developing country in Africa and Afghanistan, Bangladesh. But, you know, we always do the difference. And yes, of course, there are cultural differences, but there was common theme that was repeating in all these countries that there was always a common theme. And when I integrated all this experience, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the common theme that I found out. And the common theme is that birth is over-medicalized everywhere in the world, everywhere I've been. And I know, you know, I haven't been in all countries, but I know of stories, I know of women that tell me how their experience was. And most of the women, they think that intervention is normal, that having an awful birth is normal, and that, you know, something bad is going to happen. You know, one of the things that women share with me when I look after them is, you know, all the people are telling me that I'm going to have an awful birth. So really this belief is so common everywhere in the world. And then this is what we have. This is what is happening. That birth is medicalized, that we have many women experience violence. And also, if we look at the maternal, and I forgot to add newborn, maternal and newborn mortality and morbidity, they are not really improving in the world. We know actually in some countries they're even worse. And in our developed countries, the cause of the first cause of maternal mortality is mental health, suicide. So something is not, with all this medicalization, with all this control, we are not, where are we going? And I also know that many families are having such a devastating effect on all family. So what can we do about this? I'm gonna tell you a few of the stories that I was always involved in. Respectful maternity care, that has been always my passion, to teach midwives, obstetrician, doctors, nurses around the world how the importance of be with a woman, be with the family, and support them, and really make sure that this baby is held, is in a beautiful birthing space that we love with so much love and kindness. And so when the first experience, I went to Burundi and in Africa, and I remember I was fresh graduated, and I was like, okay, I know everything now. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna save women, I'm the hero. I will teach them how to give birth. And I'm laughing because actually they taught me what birth is. And when I was going there, unfortunately, no, we were pushing for them. They have a big culture of birthing in the villages with other women, surrounded by other women, and in their home, and really held by their community. I witnessed so many births in the villages, with women supporting this laboring woman, and it was so beautiful. And they were all holding their hands and massaging her and singing, and that was the first real birth that I witnessed. And me, like very young, fresh graduated, I really wanted to go and tell them that what I've learned about, you know, guidelines was the best thing in the world. And what actually learned from them is that they didn't need my guidelines. They didn't need my teaching. They taught me that what is birth. And so from that experience, I've started to learning a lot. So what did I learn? What did I, and I'm still am learning, but what have I learned? I learned a lot about myself, about my personalities, especially doing the journey with compassionate inquiry. I learned a lot about what energy I bring to the birth space. And I've learned about this hero in me that I wanted to go and save the world. And I know that was counterproductive. I also learned through working in the system that, you know, we always hear that how so many midwives, nurses, doctors are overworked and stressed. But that experience for me was so important because I've learned that I'm not the victim, that I can choose for myself how I want to support women and families. So I've learned a lot from this experience. But the biggest learning was to give up my own agenda, to really pay attention to what I bring in the birthing space. So, and for me as a woman, working with other women and birthing people, it was so important to understand myself and how I enter the birth space. Because I witnessed so many times that if I was going there with fear, that was what I was bringing there, was fear. And if I was going there with such an openness and supporting women, being attuned with them, the energy, the space was completely different, changed. So I've learned about safety. And this is one of my favorite quote from teaching from Gabor. And I think it also comes from Stephen Porges from polyvagal theory, that safety is not the absence of threat. Safety is the presence of connection. So I think it's so important for everyone that work in prenatal birth, postpartum, the parenting journey, to discover what is safety as a worker for inside me. Where do I find this connection inside? And there is a lot that, you know, we could dive into the polyvagal theory, but we won't have time to do today. But I just added few definition about safety. And because I think it's so important, we always hear about this like home birth is safe, hospital birth is safe, these guidelines, this practice is safe. But actually, if we look at concept of safety in our nervous system, it's in our nervous system, it's internal, it's not the external, it's not the guidelines, it's not the practice, it's not the location, it's the internal states, and if there is a balance inside our nervous system, and also the connection that we have inside us. Do we have, where is our goodness, where is this our sweetness? So if we don't connect with that, then our nervous system will always be probably more into the fear, and this related with birth so much, thinking about many of us that enter the birth space. How do we enter? Do we enter with that safety and connection, or do we enter with the fear? And one important skill, if we want to call it skill, or it is also attunement. And for me, it goes really close to with safety, because attunement means being in tune with, being on the same wavelength, And it's not about do something. So we always, in the medical ward, in the birthing ward, we always want to do something. But actually, when we are attuned with ourselves, and we are attuned with the person in front of us, it's not about do something. It's about being in that moment with that person that we have in front of us. If we think about the mother with the newborn, and the newborn cries, and the mother pick the baby, and she's answering to his or her needs, that's also attunement. Be present with that baby. And it's the same thing with us, with the client. So being present with the person that I have in front of me, and understanding what she needs, and being present with myself too, being present with my words at the same time, let her words to open myself to her words. But if I come with so much in my mind, and all the fear and everything, then I won't be open. I won't be attuned to the person that I have in front of me. So, and also what I find it really amazing is that our nervous systems are regulating one another. And this, we always say this for who goes or teach at the birth preparation classes, to maybe to the partner, pay attention to how you come to the birth space. Don't come with the fear, anxiety, otherwise you will bring that to the space. But this is because our nervous system are regulating to one another. So if we bring fear, then fear will be in the birth space to everyone, because we will be so connected to each other. So I've learned about safety, attunement, and how is this applied to the work that, I'm a midwife, but this, I think, is applicable to everyone that works with parents to be. And I think one of the most important quality, maybe approach more than quality, is continuity of care. And when I worked in the UK more than 10 years ago, and I had the opportunity to work in authentic midwifery practice with continuity of care. So, and really for me, was another experience that changed everything, because I started not to look at the practice and the guidelines. Yes, those are important, but it was the first time that I've started to a relationship with the women and with the family, because I was caring, I was looking after them from the beginning of pregnancy until like 6 weeks after birth. And so is that I explored that relationship with women, and that is what I found out in practice, really, what attunement was, what presence is. And we know also from many studies that when we have a continuity of care model, actually the outcomes of the experience for the family and for the birth and postpartum are so much better, because we focus on that relationship. And so we've seen from studies that the interventions are lower, that the women have so much a better experience in general of the journey. So this is this family for me represent continuity, because I was with them during pregnancy, then at the birth, postpartum, and then we meet like maybe every 2 years we meet, and we always take picture on the same way. And for me, this is a representation of continuity. And Chiara was she's called Chiara, and I looked after her when I was working in London. And because of her age, when she was pregnant, the obstetrician wanted to induce her, and And I remember she was crying at every appointment when she was going, until I went with her and I told her, I'm going to come with her. I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to talk with the obstetrician if you need to, but I'm going to sit and be with you. And if you need, I hold your hand. And we did that for a few times. And then she she chose actually to give birth at home. And she said, I'm sure, I know my body can do it. And she did it. She had a beautiful home birth. Yeah, and I love telling these stories because I think it's so important, the presence, and really asking, what do you want? What do you need? And how can I support you in what you need? And this is another story. This is Cherry, and I was always in the UK, and her baby was in breech presentation, and she did so many research, and she really wanted to try natural birth. And at that time, working in Africa, I had so much experience with vaginal breech birth. So I was the one on call in the hospital in case there were any breech birth. So she was looking for a professional that could support her. And then, so we've been talking. It was like 1 week before she started labor. And she said to me, I just wanted someone who is experienced with that, but also can support me in what I want. I've done all my research. I know what I want, but I really want the presence of someone like you. And I was like, okay, so it's fine. I'm here for you. I'm going to support you in this. And she labored for almost 2 days at home. And then we transferred to the hospital, and she had a C-section. And I asked her after, when I went to her postpartum, and I said, are you disappointed because you didn't have your vaginal birth? And she said, no, I was supported, and you were there, other midwives were there. I was really supported in what I wanted, and I tried my best. And it's okay, but the presence that the team held for her, it was so important. The fact that she was seen in her desire. So just to finish, how can we then apply this? So I really think that continuity of care is so important. And really to build that relationship with the client, possibly starting before pregnancy. And one of the things I know as a professional, we need to follow guidelines, but I always go beyond that, because I think it's so important to, again, attune to see the person that you have in front of you. You can always talk about practice, logistic, guidelines, risk. You can always talk about that. But what if you spend 20 minutes with the person you have in front of you and ask, what's your vision for this birth? What do you believe about birth? What is safety for you? Not of course not rushing, but having time to explore that, having time to ask, what do you want? And one of the things that we can't explore today because of time is, I focus one full session to explore the beginning of this person life. So exploring the birth and the early trauma and the birth imprint of the person that is pregnant, because we know how this can impact the journey and the birth. And so how her story will impact or will influence this life that she's carrying a baby. So it's so important. And it's not written in the most of the guidelines of practice, but I think it's so important to explore this with women and birthing people. And so I ask regularly, what do you really want? I'm listening, I'm here for you. How can you make it possible? And how can I be in support for you? And I think it's so important to give the responsibility of the autonomy back to who have in front of them, of us, and telling them that we are there for them and we are supporting. And the most important thing is not doing. Let the answer arise. Let the whatever they need to arise itself without doing. So when I sometimes we don't have that, they don't know what they want, but maybe we can be with them and let it arise. Maybe they don't know if they want to go to the hospital, they want that induction or they want the intervention, but can we wait and give space for that to arise? I think it's really essential to mirror their potential. So this is a message that one of the women I looked after, and for me it really defined what mirroring their potential is. She said, when a woman is birthing, often with external noise, we forget to trust ourselves. To have just one person remind us of our power is often all it takes to put us back on track. I know certainly for me it was this way. You allow me to achieve my end goal by believing in me more than I believed in myself. And by demonstrating this to me, it allowed me to remember what it was I had set out to do. So I think this is a definition of mirroring. I haven't done anything. I've just mirrored the fact that, and with my presence, that she can do it, that she's capable to give birth, that she has that capacity, that is in her true essence, in the natural essence, to give birth and to connect with her experience, to be present with that experience, to connect with the baby, to be present with her, with that internal experience. That is what I reminded her. And just the last few slides, as I said, last month I facilitated a trauma-informed perinatal care. There were 30 professionals, and I gave just space to share with me what was going on in the working life, and they never had that space to do that. Many of them, they were sharing with me that they experience, like they feel like broken inside because nobody asked them how they feel. They are stressed, they are overworked, and by giving the space just to bring attention to their experience internally, just to come back, it was a powerful experience. So I think my dream is really, one of my dream is really to give space to professional that I know how hard it is to work in a hospital, in a medical system, especially this time. And by just giving them the space to be themselves, to come back to their experience, to share their experience. And we also practice a little bit of exercise with self-awareness, and really understanding how we enter that space, that birthing space. Most of them, they were working in labor room, birthing suite, so it was really to understand how they entered, and the fact that for like one day of they spend the time to really come back to themselves and to their experience. It was so powerful for them. So I think we need more of that, and I'm just saying that because if you facilitate spaces, or I think it's so important if you have colleagues that work in the birthing suite or in birth, like it's so important to give them the space to just come back and bring awareness inside them and be present, and a space where they can safely really share themselves. So this is the end of the presentation. I just want to share the last quote, which comes from Compassionate Inquiry, and I really love that. And when we are secure in ourselves, nothing can touch us. And it's so important to find out what's that safety inside us, for both professional and parent or parent-to-be. And yeah, so what's next for me? I'm gonna be at the conference, and I also want to share that we are exploring some possibility in Compassionate Inquiry to do more trainings about perinatal care and applying safety and attunement in perinatal care. And I invite you, for whoever wants to do this survey, you can use the QR code just to, the survey is to understand what is needed in the perinatal ward in terms of trauma-informed care. What do you think is needed? How can we make it better for everyone, for professionals, for parents to be? So if you feel like filling the survey, please do it, because it will be extremely helpful for me, for everyone who's going to be involved. And that's all. I hope I'm on time.
This is perfect. Laura, I just have to say, what an amazing presentation. I think that this just makes me so excited and really just hungry to hear you speak at our Congress in October. And I think you just get deeper into how we as birth professionals can work with clients and really help build the clients that we're supporting, their inner safety and meeting their needs for attunement. And we're just excited to hear about these practical tools that you've spent the last 15 years cultivating, and how we can just bring that into our work. It's amazing. There's a ton of questions that are popping into the chat. I'm just going to go ahead and get started asking them, if that's okay with you. The first one, and this one, I thought this one was cute. It says, what countries are next on your travel list? But it sounds like hopefully the USA is next on your travel list, since you'll be here for our Congress.
Yes, I'm in Italy now, and my next country will be US. Yes, and then who knows? We'll see. But I will keep doing with this work until I get tired, I guess.
That's wonderful. That kind of leads us into another question. And you shared about this with your trauma-informed perinatal care, but what's next for your work? How are you bringing in, your teachings from somatic psychotherapy into your midwifery? Just kind of what's next on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so we are working, and Hannah is here. Hannah is my colleague from Compassionate Inquiry. And we did this survey together because we want to create a program, a training that Anna is a midwife too. So we want to combine midwifery with trauma-informed perinatal care. So it will be the approach from Compassionate Inquiry, which is a somatic and psychotherapy approach, brought into being with women and families. How can we integrate this approach in midwifery? So for midwives, for body workers, for doctors, for any professional that work with in the perinatal care, And so we are at the moment we are asking people, everyone who is working this world, to tell us what do you need, because we have so much skills and way that we could do these trainings or workshops. So we want to make it possible for people, and we want to spread it everywhere in the world. And I did the first workshop in Australia 1 month ago, and we did a birth trauma event, and 500 people came to this event. And it was an event for the community where women, men, fathers, partners, everyone came to share their experience with us and wanting to change things for them, for the kids, for other women. So it was very powerful, and that inspired us to, okay, we need to do this.
That is incredible. 500 people's lives that you changed. That's amazing. That's like what this work is all about. Someone asked when you talked a little bit about that trauma-informed perinatal care, is there a recording that folks can listen into? Are you doing another session like this? It really lights us up.
We are gonna do there is a record, but we haven't published yet. And I don't know, like, if the organizer wanted to publish that online, but we are gonna do that for sure. Like, Anna and I are organizing something to do it soon. We want to do it very soon. So what you can do it, either you can subscribe to my newsletter, or you can also subscribe to Compassionate Inquiry newsletter. And it's something that will I think be live through Compassionate Inquiry.
Amazing. We will go ahead and share your website once more into the chat. We'll put your Instagram in there so that folks can reach you and learn more about your work. That's incredible. Just a couple more questions here with these last few minutes. Across the different cultures that you've interacted with and immersed yourself in, what are some really common characteristics of a healthy birth, or what are some big hallmarkers that just kind of you've come across?
That's interesting. I think what I really witnessed across the countries is the fact not to interfere. Like, when I was with traditional midwives, the common theme is not interfering. Let the woman going through her process and be there with her, without, yes, if she needs to hold our hands, yes, but really sitting and just be there with our presence, full heart, with love, knowing that she's there, supported. And that was the common theme when I was going in the communities, and just being with them in silence, not doing anything, and just let this baby come to the world with full presence and love. This was the common theme when it was in their village, in their shelter, in their space. That was the common theme. I hope it answered the question.
I think so, most definitely. I think we have time for just one more question. What advice do you have for someone that wants to serve women and families in birth and postpartum?
To explore as I said, to be present with yourself, with your process, with your own process, and explore the being rather than doing. I spend so much time in my life doing courses, doing so many courses, I have to learn how to do this, how to do the rebozo, how to learn, I don't know, so many practices. I'm not saying that I am wrong or I don't have anything, they're all beautiful practices. but the most transformative thing that I've learned is really to be present with myself and be in that space without doing anything. You know, I've done so many courses, so many doing, but I never use most of the skills that I have. You know, I'm thinking, you know, the exercise for women to change position, or the rebozo, or all this doing. You know, I don't use it most of the time. What I use is my full use. What I am is I am fully. So that is, I think, the most important thing. Then of course you can do courses, and because if you love them, but my experience really was to learn all of this, to say, okay, maybe I don't need it. What she needs is me, like full presence. That's all. So I think if you are going to serve pregnant women, people, it's really to relearn, or remembering, because we have all of this, we have inside us. It's really to remember who we are, and remember that we are human being, fully, you know, attuned, connected, present, with so much love for ourselves and for in that space. That's all. And for me, the journey was to remember really who I am. That I used learning, but it was more than learning, remembering really who I am inside, because I know already. It's just that so much layers of culture and society and beliefs, they were all there. So I just needed to remove all these layers and be myself. So I think that's the most important thing that you can do for you.
I think that's the perfect sentiment. I think that's such a poignant space to kind of leave off and wrap up this conversation. I just want to remind everyone that we've put another kind of little tidbit of all of the different links that we've talked about into the chat. We've put Laura's information in there if you want to get in touch with her. I love hearing from all of you, so my email is in there as well. There were a couple of questions around access to your slide deck, Laura, and I just want to remind folks to really explore our Premier membership. That way you get unlimited access to rewatching Laura's talk, as well as all of the different presentations that we've had on Apple Live over the last year. You also get membership benefits to all of our courses, access to our APPA Connect, which is a monthly membership meeting where we meet and really deep dive into some different pre and perinatal conversations. There's just so much in our membership, and I just want to encourage all of you to take advantage of that. It's only $25 a month for a Premier membership, or $250 for the entire year. And like I said, I love to chat with all of you about that if you have questions or comments. With that, I just want to, again, thank you, Laura. You're just doing such important work around the world. And I know that your families and your clients that you've supported are just so grateful for you. We are so grateful that you're a part of our community. And I'm just grateful for all of the conversations that you and I have had. And we can't wait to hear more from you at our Congress in October. Please, all of you, join us next week for an amazing presentation. It's August 28th, 12 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. You'll get emails if you're signed up on our mailing list, and we'll drop a link there to just remind folks to sign up for our reminders. But we will have Carlton Terry. He's going to do an interview with our education director, Christiana Dykman, on baby therapy. Carlton has spent the last 25 years teaching, touring, lecturing, and leading over 400 workshops and trainings. He's worked and trained with the top pre and perinatal practitioners, and we're so excited to have him on Apple Live to really share more about his work. He's actually going to be at our Congress as well, and we are hosting an amazing series with Carlton called Exploring Psychological Imprints of the Birth Journey with Carlton Terry. It's going to be a year-long journey into 12 just amazing and pertinent topics in birth psychology, and to just examine all of the different stages of birth from baby's point of view and reflect on how we bring this into the context of our clients and our own lives. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that link into the chat for anyone who's curious and wants a sneak peek, or maybe to sign up for the course. And knowing that we only bring you all the best of the best. But with that, I see it's the top of the hour for me. I would love for all of you to unmute as we say goodbye to Laura, and to just have a wonderful week, all of you, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Piacere.
Thank you. Ciao.